This is a story someone sent us. We receive a lot of messages. People who drive at night, deliver on the weekend, work the hours that everyone else sleeps through. Most of what they send is strange, but explainable. Weird customers, bad neighborhoods, long shifts that do things to your head. But some of them we keep coming back to. These 4 are those. What connects them isn't the job, it's something older than that. These people went where they were told, at hours when no one was watching, into places they'd never been before, and something, or someone, was already there. Before we get into it, names have been changed, cities have been altered. We're not in the business of making anyone identifiable, but we'll tell you this. Every person who submitted one of these stories quit the job within a month of the night they're about to describe. The first story came from a DoorDash driver working Friday nights in suburban Columbus, Ohio. They submitted it in November. They said it took them 3 weeks to write it down. I'd been dashing for about 8 months when this started. Friday nights were my shift, 10 p.m. to 3 a.m. usually. The money was decent if you knew the right zones, and I'd learned them. The apartment clusters near the university, the neighborhoods where people ordered late and tipped well, the addresses to avoid. You get a feel for it. The app becomes background noise. You stop reading addresses as places and start reading them as directions. Left on Morse, right on Weber, third house, leave at door. It was the kind of job that made you feel like you understood the city better than the people who lived in it, and I did for a while. I noticed the address the second time it came up. 4417 Linwood Court. The first time I didn't think anything of it. Single order, no note, leave at door. Standard. The house was at the edge of a development that backed up against a drainage field, the kind of street that ends in a cul-de-sac and doesn't go anywhere. I dropped the bag, drove away, forgot about it. The second time was 2 Fridays later. Same address, same order, pad thai, extra peanut sauce, a large Coke. I figured it was a regular. Lots of people order the same thing every week. I knocked instead of leaving it because the app flagged the area as higher risk and I wanted a confirmation. A man answered, 50s, tired looking. He took the bag without making eye contact and closed the door. I thought, okay, regular customer, private guy, fine. I thought that until the third time. Third Friday, same address, same order. I knocked. A woman answered. Different person entirely. Younger, maybe mid-20s, dressed like she'd just woken up. She took the bag and said thank you and closed the door. I sat in my car for a moment before I drove away. I want to be clear, the order was placed through the same account, same name on it, same payment, same rating on my end when it cleared. Different person at the door. I told myself it was a household, multiple people, one account. They rotate who answers. That's normal. That's completely normal. The fourth time, I knocked and no one answered for almost 2 minutes. I was about to mark it as delivered and leave when the door opened. A teenage boy. He grabbed the bag and started to close the door, then stopped. He looked at me. He said, "You've been here before." I said yes a few times. He looked at me for another second, then he closed the door. I drove away and I checked the app while I was parked down the street. The account had a name on it, Ryan M. I don't know why I searched it the way I did. I'd never looked up a customer before. But something about the boy's face, the way he said it like he already knew the answer, made me look at the account creation date. The account was created on a Tuesday in March. My first shift for DoorDash was a Tuesday. Not the same week, not the same month, the same day. I know what you're thinking. I thought the same thing. Coincidence, databases sync weird, there's a logical explanation. I stayed up most of that night trying to find it. I never found it. I stopped taking orders in that zone, adjusted my delivery area, cut out that whole side of the city. For 3 weeks, nothing. I was on my way home from a shift when a notification came through from the app. New order, high payout. I hadn't adjusted a setting correctly and the zone had reset. The address was 4417 Linwood Court. I declined it, but I checked the order details before I did. The account name, the creation date. Someone had placed the order from a second account, created 6 days after I stopped delivering to that area. I quit DoorDash the following Monday. The person who submitted this story said they haven't driven through that part of Columbus since. They said the account is probably still active. They said they don't want to know. Story 2. The passenger who knew the route. The second story came from a rideshare driver in the Chicago metro area. They submitted it in the spring. They said they debated sending it for almost 2 months. I've been driving for Uber since 2021, nights mostly. I work a day job and the rideshare money covers the gap. By now, I know the city well enough that I don't really look at the GPS anymore. I use it, but I don't watch it. I know where I'm going before it tells me. The night this happened, I was on my last 3 rides, late Saturday or early Sunday, depending on how you count it. Around 1 in the morning. Bar closed mostly. People going home. The ping came in from a pickup near Wicker Park. Female name on the account, short trip, maybe 12 minutes, easy fare, straight shot. I pulled up. She got in, quiet, polite, said thank you when she settled in, looked out the window. I didn't think anything about her. That was the thing. There was nothing to think about. We were about 4 minutes in when she said it. She said, "You're going to want to turn left up here." I glanced at the GPS. It was going to tell me to turn left. I could see it. She'd said it maybe 4 seconds before the voice prompt came through. I figured she knew the area. Lots of people watch the GPS in the back seat, especially if they're paying attention to the route. I said something like, "Ahead of me there," and she smiled out the window. It happened again at the next turn. 4 turns. She called all 4 of them. Each time she said it quietly, not to direct me, more like she was narrating to herself. By the 3rd one, I was watching her in the rearview mirror. She wasn't looking at a phone. Her hands were in her lap. I asked her if she knew this part of the city. She said she grew up near here, said she knew these streets. I want to be very clear about what I'm about to tell you, because I've gone back over it many times. That route, the one we were taking, had been affected by a water main break earlier that day. The standard route, the one GPS would normally use, was closed. The app had rerouted me dynamically when I pulled up to get her, based on a traffic update that came through at 1:04 a.m. That reroute was generated 12 minutes before she got in the car. I didn't say anything else to her. She didn't say anything else to me. She got out at her destination, thanked me, and closed the door. I sat in the parking lot for a minute, then I drove home. In the morning, I checked my trip history and pulled up the route map. I was looking for the reroute timestamp to confirm the timeline, to make sure I hadn't misremembered, that she really had been calling turns that weren't part of the original route. I found the timestamp. And I found something else. The reroute my app generated that night, the specific combination of streets, had never appeared in my route history before. The app uses aggregated data to build alternatives. This path was new to the system. She said she grew up near here. She said she knew these streets. The route didn't exist before that night. I looked her name up in my app, her rating, her account details. Normal account, 87 trips, solid rating, nothing unusual. I accepted another ride from her account 7 weeks later. I didn't realize it was her until I saw the name in the pickup confirmation. I canceled it. I don't know what the rational explanation is. I've tried to build one. The best I can get to is that she'd driven that route in a different context, or that she was watching some mapping app I couldn't see. But here's what I keep coming back to. When she got out, she didn't check an address. She didn't look at her phone to confirm she was in the right place. She just opened the door and walked to the building, directly, without pausing, like she'd been home before. The third story is from a gas station attendant who worked the overnight shift at a BP station off the I-71 corridor in Kentucky. They submitted this in January. They included the phrase, "I've never told anyone this," 4 times in the email. Night shifts at a gas station are their own kind of quiet. The regulars come in waves. Bar close, then the long dead hours, then the pre-dawn people getting coffee before the highway. You learn the faces, you learn the times. This man started coming in sometime in October. Always 3 a.m., always the same thing. A bottle of water, a bag of sunflower seeds, and a copy of whatever newspaper we had left from the day before. He never spoke beyond what he needed to. He paid cash. I called him the reader in my head. He was just a regular. The wrong note came from my coworker. She came in for the shift overlap one morning, maybe the 4th or 5th week the reader had been coming in. We were standing at the counter and she was going through the drawer and I mentioned him, said something like, "The reader was in again last night." She looked up. She said she didn't know who I was talking about. I described him. She shook her head. She said she'd never seen anyone matching that description come in during any overlap she'd done with me. Said she'd been doing this job for 3 years and she knew everyone who came in at 3 a.m. I told her he came in every single night. She said, "Then why have I never seen him?" We pulled up the security footage. The system keeps 72 hours on a rolling loop. I went back 4 days, found the 3 a.m. window, and there he was. Same jacket, same methodical movements through the store, same routine. My coworker leaned in and watched. She said, Okay, yeah." I fast-forwarded through another night. Same time, there he was. Then she said, "Wait." She asked me to go back to the beginning of the clip. She pointed at the frame. "He's already in the store," she said. I looked. She was right. The reader was visible in the footage from the moment the clip began, already standing in the back aisle, already holding his water, already there before the timestamp started. I scrolled through, frame by frame. He was standing in the same position in every frame, not moving, not walking the aisle, not reaching for anything. Standing with the water in his hand, in the exact same spot, in the exact same position, for 47 minutes of continuous time-stamped footage. I watched him check out. I watched myself ring him up. I watched him take his bag and walk out the door. And then I scrolled back, and he was standing in the aisle again. Same position, same frame. The footage was not looping. The timestamps were sequential. The minute counter in the corner moved forward the entire time. He stood in one position for 47 minutes and then appeared at the counter. I don't know how to explain that. I genuinely don't. I saved the clip to a USB drive and took it home. I've watched it maybe 30 times since. He does it every night on the footage. Every night I can find on the recording, he's there, standing still for the entire duration, moving only when he walks to the register. I told the station manager I was having a personal issue and needed to switch to days. They said yes. The person who submitted this told us that the reader still comes in. Their replacement told them, 3 a.m. every night. They said they still have the USB drive. They said they stopped watching it. The last story is the one that stayed with us longest. It came in on a Tuesday morning. No subject line in the email, just the story. We've read it probably a dozen times. Every time we get to the end, we go back and read it again. The person who wrote it asked us not to include any identifying details, not the city, not the app, not even what month it happened.
We've honored that. This is what they wrote. It was my last ride of the night. I know that sounds like the setup to something, but that's what it was. I had a rule, 3 a.m. cutoff, no exceptions. I was at 2:51 and I was already heading toward home when the ping came in. High payout, long trip, and I was tired enough that the money looked better than sleep. I accepted it. The pickup was normal. Woman, mid-30s, light luggage. She said thank you when she got in and gave me the destination. That's when I looked at the address. It was far, farther than I'd usually go that late, out past the edge of the metro area, into the kind of geography where the road names get longer and the lights get fewer, rural adjacent. The app had inflated the payout because drivers don't go that way that hour. I asked her if the address was right. She said yes. She said it quietly, and then she looked out the window, and that was the last thing she said for a long time. The drive was 43 minutes. I'm used to quiet passengers. I don't force conversation, but this was a different kind of quiet, not the quiet of someone tired or on their phone. She wasn't on her phone. She was just looking out the window at a landscape that was getting darker and emptier the further we went. About 20 minutes in, she said, "You can take the next road. It's shorter." I checked the GPS. It was routing me another way, a longer loop. I've learned not to fight passengers who know local roads, so I turned. She was right. It was shorter. But here's what I noticed. I asked her how she knew that road, and she said she used to come out this way a lot. I asked her what was out here. She said, "Not much anymore." We pulled up to the destination, a house set back from the road, no lights on. She thanked me sincerely, like she meant it. She pulled her bag, closed the door gently. I watched her walk to the front door. She had a key. I drove back, 43 minutes. I got home around 4:15. I poured a glass of water and sat at the kitchen table and opened the app to close out my night. The ride wasn't there. I mean that exactly. There was no record of the pickup, no record of the route. My trip history ended at the ride I'd completed before hers, the one that had me heading home at 2:51. I checked my rating, no new rating. I checked my messages in the app, no receipt, no route map, no record that the trip had ever been accepted. I went through everything I could think of. I restarted the app, I checked the support page, I looked for a glitch, a sync issue, anything. Nothing. The ride did not exist in the system. I sat there for a while, then I went to sleep because I didn't know what else to do. In the morning, I checked my bank account. The deposit was there, $23.40, time-stamped 4:08 a.m., right around the time I would have been arriving home. I went back to the app. There was a payment in my earnings history, no trip attached, no route, no passenger name, just the amount and the time. I contacted Uber support and explained the situation, told him I had a fare deposited that I couldn't find in my trip history, and I wanted to understand where it came from. They looked into it. They told me the payment had come from a third-party account, a business or organizational account linked to the platform. They said sometimes those accounts process differently and the trip data doesn't always sync up correctly. They apologized. They said my earnings were valid. I looked up the address I'd driven to that night. The property record shows the house has been vacant for 11 years. She had a key. I still think about the way she said it. Not much anymore. $23.40. Every person in these stories thought they understood what their job was. You get an address, you go there, you come back. Simple. If you work nights, if you drive or deliver or sit behind a counter while the rest of the city sleeps, you know the feeling. The way the world gets smaller after 2 a.m., the way it starts to feel like it's yours. Maybe that's the mistake. Maybe some of what's out there after midnight isn't waiting to be found. Maybe it's been waiting for someone to come to it. If something happened to you, something you haven't been able to explain, we want to hear it. The link is in the description. We read every one. Until next time, keep your doors locked.